The growth of your organization will stall and fall or rise in scale based on your company's and your team's ability to solve problems. And it starts on the team with your ability to solve problems naturally as the founder or one of the co founders. But ultimately, by extension, your team's ability to solve problems has to be there. Has to be there. Otherwise, you won't ever really have a company. You'll simply have a job and a lot of painful headaches because everyone will rely on you for your judgment. And companies that are built this way, as exampled in books and through observation over time on many publicly traded companies even, when that key person, that key leader leaves the organization, the company just ultimately folds over time. It dies off slowly, usually, because there's always some momentum that's already there in terms of products that would have been in progress. Because the essence of the organization ultimately were dependent on that one, or in some cases maybe two people. And this is why the greatest leaders, level 5 leaders, in the words of Jim Collins, they are not simply looking to bring their own great judgment to an organization. And if you're a startup, you're watching this, I am talking about you. If you're a smaller company watching this, I'm talking about you too. I'm not just talking about larger businesses in the context of this video, okay? It's important you hear this, though, because in the books of Jim Collins, where he has, for example, Built to Last, his one book, and Good to Great, these level 5 leaders, they were empowering their teams. And I hate that word. It's so overused. I know. But the teams ultimately, and the mindset, the attitude, the culture, and the workflows that they would follow, which would not be too constrained, this is what would allow these organizations to live and breathe like an entity unto itself, another body unto itself, independent of any one person or part of the organization, and continue to grow and maintain market dominance in many positions, in some cases for over 100 years. Through thick and thin, through changing economic landscapes and societal norms and whatnot. Because in a smaller company or in a startup, you're trying to grow. All the time, you have to be trying to grow. If you are not accelerating your growth, and let me say this in a little bit of a less breathless way, because there's too much content out there, and there's too much personality, especially in American culture, that is so breathless today about if you're not doing it this way, you're dying. And it's so hyperbolic and it's so damn tiring. So let me say it in a calm voice. You have to accelerate the growth of your company. You have to continue to level up and learn. Your company itself needs to be a learning and an evolution and an adaptation machine. And the goal is not to solve any one problem. The goal is to build the thing that builds the thing, okay? You want to build, ideally, a set of systems, processes, workflows, checklists, all right, that are given to the different positions within the company and stakeholders. And everyone knows what their responsibilities are, but that the system itself is designed to evolve and to grow and to adapt as well to potentially unforeseen circumstances. Because it is those unforeseen circumstances where either the company will stumble or will learn. An organization that has learned how to learn is almost immortal. Okay. I remember one venture capitalist, Peter Thiel, once commented how companies, rather than, well, not companies, but he commented how cities were one of the closest things to sort of an entity that is immortal, because he commented how even in the cases of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, nuclear weapons, the atom bomb was dropped on these cities at the end of World War II. And those companies today, those countries, those cities today are alive, rebuilt, and flourishing. And in part because there's a network effect, right? And there's all this, just this ability to adapt, you know, where a city itself has some organization to it, but there's so much diversity, and people are there because people want to be around people, and people want to trade in person and have meetings and do deals, and other people from other cities and towns and countries are flying in. And so there's this network effect. But again, it's in part because, just like with a starfish, the central authority is there, but there's still in a kind of self-healing ability built into it. And with a company, that self-learning, self-adapting, self-healing ability to changing economic market conditions is key. Now, let's bring this down a bit further to the level of a startup or a small organization who wants to grow, right? Because that's most of the people, probably you, watching this right now. So in my startup, and I call it a startup because I believe we've earned that title in the way that the company was founded in 2010. We started as web design agency, then web marketing, then we productized, and we were selling, for a flat monthly fee, and we still make most of our revenue at the time of this video today from this flat monthly fee, get an all-in-one marketing team. And today we've rebranded as Grobo, and we're building an AI growth automation platform for businesses to delegate and automate repetitive tasks and even creative tasks related to marketing and internal processes. If you want to learn more, you can check us out at grobo.com, GROWBO.com. So you need, it's not that, the people within your small organization, it's not that they're not smart enough. Although intelligence and intellect are good things that you should look for, especially in the people who are going to be at the top of the organization. But don't confuse education itself, to paraphrase Einstein, don't confuse education with intellect. Problem solving, reasoning, judgment. And it's part of the reason why companies end up productizing in the first place, or even just selling a product. It's because when you productize, when you systemize, things become more repetitive. The judgment, where it has to be custom judgment at each step. You have to kind of remember, make mistakes in the moment. It doesn't provide a consistent experience for the customer or for your client. And so mistakes, often the same mistakes, they get made over and over and over again until a company decides to adapt to what the market wants. And what the market wants is consistency in terms of how value is delivered. So it's important to be empathetic, I think, and to look at people as individuals and look at, the fact that nationally in the U.S., the state of the education system, what a loaded word, but hopefully you get what I'm trying to say there. The state of education itself, nationally and internationally, so many of us have been infantilized because of the way that we've been brought up. We've been put through this machine factory-like education system, and we come out learning almost nothing other than maybe, you know, a bit of socialization strategy because we've been around other kids growing up. We've been infantilized, though, because our imaginations have been neutered from an early age, and our spirit and love for learning, it was never encouraged, so it could not blossom. And if you're one of the lucky few, great. That's maybe why you're watching this video right now, because you started a company, you own a business, or you are somewhere at the top of your organization, in part because you or someone else recognized your creative imagination and problem-solving ability. And to quote from Einstein directly, logic will get you from A to B, imagination will take you everywhere. But this reference to imagination, this is not some woo-woo fluffy, because like when we're kids, we're even told about imagination. But still, we're neutered in the process. Our imagination is, we're stifled. We're told you have to, score according to the test, according to the rubric, right? Rather than according to, well, there's more than one way to solve an equation, perhaps, or one way to, in real life, solve a problem. If you're dealing with 2 + 2, okay, there are limits, sure. But not necessarily in the way that you think about it. There are multiple ways even to just add things in your head and how you think about it, how you understand things, how you make sense of the world. And so to bring this concept of imagination down to something that is real and tangible and tactical, this quote from Einstein, when he was 16 years old, and I'm reading his biography right now. When he was 16 years old, he was riding his bike, and he had just recently consumed the papers about Maxwell's equations. And he was riding his bike, and he imagined himself riding along a beam of light and what that would be like. And it was thought experiments like this. Thought experiments, okay? The power of imagination for him was thought experiments. Okay, so he didn't just go and run experiments in the lab and write equations on a chalkboard. No, this is in large part how he arrived at his theory of relativity and other theories which changed the very course of history from his imagination. Okay, so that is the practical benefit of imagination. And you might also think of it in terms of thought experiments, okay, to make it something more concrete and practical. Einstein also said, education is what remains when one has forgotten everything he has learned in school. So he was committed to this concept of individuality in thought. Individuality in thought. And so in a company, though, again, like you're just like us, we're pushing through this point where, personally, I felt yesterday a bit stuck because we have this great product plan. We're building it. The damn thing is so close to working. And, it's tempting to want to blame others. But ultimately, as founders, we have to blame, not even blame, that's a bad word. We need to take responsibility ourselves, no matter what. Okay? It's always on our shoulders, right? To get it off the ground, right? And then you need people at the top, your best people. Those are the ones who can take ambiguous situations like, why is the server breaking? Or why is it that we've been building for several months, but there are still obvious bugs in terms of the user experience? And that's holding us back. We are so close to just being able to deliver a product that will sell. And that I know, because we just started doing customer interviews this last week. And I was just surprised to learn about, how easy it was to break the software. But we're overcoming that. In real time, we're fixing each thing one by one. And it's sort of helped me to realize, well, the problem that I need to solve is we need to create a process of okay, this is how we create a new feature. This is how we push it live. This is how we test. This is how we confirm it is done and done well, and it's not just going to fall apart, right? Um, but you want those people ultimately, in addition to the founders who are at the top, applying effective reason and thought and logic, as well as imagination. Okay, because there's this healthy balance. You don't just want to go and blow up what is working. Too much imagination in an organization that's already making billions of dollars can destroy the whole damn thing. There's things that are running a certain way. Perhaps they're working, right? So you need a healthy balance. You need objective reason and thought and egoless in a way too. So again, many people, um, it's easy to be, you can't just blame your people if they're just good at, for example, like following instructions, right? Because some people naturally are just better at following instructions and checklists. But you can also be empathetic in the fact that like it's a failed education situation that most of us are being brought up in. Um, and yet still we must be solution oriented. We must provide order and workflow and checklists. But again, who's going to make those order and workflow and checklists, and who's going to continuously improve upon them? All right. So it is part of the opportunity for those who will rise in the organization for you to recognize them. Those who are rising in the organization, they have an innate ability to learn how to learn to deal with these ambiguous situations, to build the machine that delivers the value, right? To build the thing that builds the thing, right? To create those checklists, to improve upon those checklists, to create checklists and workflows that improve upon checklists and workflows. This is how you improve the workflow, right? Because a startup or organization which ultimately cannot self-improve will not grow in the long term. It will reach a limit. So you need to be thinking about this constantly. You need to think about who will be fulfilling those positions when it is not just on your shoulders to do it. Because if you build it around yourself, you'll never be free. You'll work endlessly every day, and it will stifle your creative ability to actually go and solve other problems within the company that might be even more important, or at least equally important. People who follow instructions can be effective and high value team members. But if your people, all of them, including those people at the top, if they cannot escape a robotic nature, which again can have value, but to some extent, especially in the age of AI, you don't want people who are just robotic. Okay. You want people who can stretch their problem solving ability. But if you cannot escape robotic nature, it will stop you from scaling. Okay. There needs to be reflection, reason, logic, and ultimately an organization and a system within the organization where the organization itself is learning how to learn. And speaking of learning how to learn, I'm going to go hop on another customer interview right now with an early access customer for Grobo and get their feedback and give them a demo. If you'd like to learn more about Grobo, check us out at grobo.com. And if you found this video to be valuable, please like, subscribe, and I'd love to hear from you in the comments. In addition, perhaps the biggest compliment that you can pay is to share this video with others who you think may also find it valuable, because it's you sharing it and seeing the reviews and reactions with more and more people that encourage me and encourage our team to continue to put out videos like this for your benefit. Thank you so much.